Delivered from DNA. Unpacking the survivor's toolbox. You've learned about epigenetics. Now you can do something with them. I recently read the story of a bright young girl with a rather mischievous father. The girl, we'll call her Abby, says she'd often received praise for being bright. She had nearly all the accolades a child could hope for when it came to intelligence. She'd skipped a grade, she was put into advanced classes, and by third grade, she even knew algebra. So, are the bright ones among us less vulnerable to misinformation? If you have a knack for studies and book smarts, do you have less to worry about in terms of false facts? Abby says she took joy in being smart. Her father, evidently, found his joy in a strange sense of humor. We don't know the exact dialogue, but we imagine the next events went a little something like this.
You know, Abby, I'm really proud of how smart you are.
Thanks, Dad.
I'm a little worried, though. Has anyone ever told you what happens to your brain over time?
What do you mean?
Well, it leaks. Out your nose. That's what boogers are. They're pieces of your brain getting caught in your nose. If you don't eat them, you'll start getting dumber.
In a moment, we're going to learn what Abby does with this interesting information. In the meantime, I want to welcome you to A Survivor's Guide to Hell. Regardless who you voted for, your gender beliefs, your vaccination status, your color, or your income, we're so glad you're here. We created A Survivor's Guide to Hell to combat a worldwide decline in mental health. Here at SGH, we believe there is no better way to save our world from chaos, corruption, and decline than by healing our minds. Abby tells us that for the next month or so of her childhood, she became a fastidious nose picker. Eager to preserve her prized intelligence, she would check her nostrils several times a day to rescue any brain bits that may have accumulated there. She was only rescued from her father's sense of humor when her mother caught her one day and dispelled the brain booger myth. Abby is a fantastic example of something we see every day. Even the most intelligent among us are susceptible to some fantastically inaccurate information. That's why in our last episode, we introduced you to a new feature of our podcast, Mental Health Myths. Our goal is to help you navigate some of psychology's most stubborn misinformation. Because when it comes to your mental health, you don't want to be chasing fairy tales. Last week, we discussed DNA and the impact it can have on your mental and physical health. We also talked about epigenetics. Though your genes are set in stone, epigenetics determines which genes are activated and which ones never turn on. There's plenty of misinformation when it comes to the power of DNA. Let's have a little recap. So what myths are you carrying around in your back pocket, and how are they holding you back from your healthiest brain? Until recently, modern science has believed that genetic expression, the way your genes change how you're built, is set in stone. That means if you have the depression gene, the anxiety gene, even the cancer gene, well, nothing would stop you from getting those things. So what are the takeaways when it comes to the genetics myth? First, your genetics determine a lot about you. 99.9% about you, actually. But that 0.1% wiggle can have a massive impact. An impact within your control. Making decisions like wholesome eating, social connection, and balanced exercise can make a massive difference in your quality of life.
Every decision matters. So let's think about what that means. So that'll be the food we're eating. So the amount of food, the quality of food, where you're sourcing your food, how you're cooking your food, everything's going to change gene expression. Then, of course, lifestyle. So what does that mean? Sleep is going to change gene expression. All right. Exercise goes without saying.
Even if you are predisposed to suffer from certain mental health diseases, you are making an impact on these epigenetics with every moment that passes. So DNA locking in your destiny? I think we can say, myth busted. It's a borderline miracle to realize that the way your genetics express themselves isn't set in stone. Epigenetics, however, doesn't just cut you some slack with your own genome, it comes with a lot of accountability. If you can have some control over how your genes manifest themselves, what can you do with that power? According to the epigenetics expert, Dr. Yael Jaffe, you can use the following tools to help optimize your genetic expression. Number 1. Eat healthful, high-quality foods. Dr. Jaffe particularly favors cruciferous vegetables. Cruciferous vegetables help your genes switch on detox mode, which helps eradicate the toxins from your body. Number 2. Exercise, of course. A moderate exercise routine can trigger an epigenetic defense against inflammation. However, Dr. Jaffe includes a warning.
When you exercise in a really healthy, moderate way, you actually really help your body with inflammation. You decrease the inflammation. If you overtrain and you're going for one of those super big events like Ironman, you actually overwhelm your body with inflammation and oxidative stress. So it's all about finding that perfect place.
Number 3, hugs. Affection bears well on our epigenetics. High-quality relationships, hugs, and other positive social behaviors can help sway our genetic manifestation in a positive direction. But it's a two-sided coin. Loneliness can also affect our genetic expression in rather unpleasant ways. 4. Other recommendations for optimizing your epigenetics include getting quality sleep, avoiding toxins, and, if you can help it, living where there's lots of sunshine. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to those recommendations, enough to fill another season of SGH. My recommendation? Do your best with what you know, and understand that every decision you make is affecting your epigenetic expression in real time. If you'd like one simple piece of advice in optimizing epigenetics, here is one of Dr. Jaffe's favorites.
Eat a lot of broccoli. If you're going to make one change, eat more broccoli.
Raw broccoli and chew it really well, right?
And chew it. There you go.
We'd like to thank Dr. Yael Jaffe for her contributions to today's episode. If Dr. Jaffe's genetic testing and epigenetic coaching sounded valuable to you, then we agree. You can find more about her services by following the link in the description. We're nearing the end of today's toolbox, but first we want to follow up on our last episode's Silver Liners Challenge. During our initial episode on the DNA myth, we asked you to make one lifestyle change to help improve your epigenetic expression. So, did you do it? If so, how well did it work for you? You can give us a shout out on our Facebook page or through email to tell us about your experience. If you missed last week's episode or skipped the challenge for whatever reason, we're extending a second chance. Go ahead. Sometime in the next couple weeks, go do something to max out your genetic potential. Whether it's getting a little more sunshine, a little more affection, eating a little healthier, or getting in some of that moderate, balanced exercise. That's it for this month's Silver Liners Challenge. We know that today's episode was a little bit on the shorter side. If you want any more in the way of a brain boost, please feel free to check out our YouTube channel, where you're going to find more content as well as all of our other episodes. We'd love to invite you to our next episode, where we're going to cover the topic of hope. In the meantime, we want to hold you over with the cheesy joke of the week. Are you ready? Why did broccoli blush? Because it saw the salad dressing. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.